No. I'm not ready for it to end. I'm just not ready. 10th episode of Dexter Resurrection is called And Justice for All, and I am not ready for it to end. Please don't go, Dexter. Don't leave me, Uma Thurman. We open up on Prater and Charlie close the vault behind Dexter. Charlie's like, I didn't sign up for this. You just killed a cop with a bunch of cops waiting downstairs while a bunch of cops are at your house. And Prater's like, hey, relax, guy. Chill. Be cool, baby. It's all good. I'm gonna figure it out. Charlie's like, you're just gonna leave him in there? And he's like, yeah, I mean, he's got like what, he could last like 3 days. It's fine, I'll figure it out later. I got a gala to run. He tells her to watch the vault and he takes off. Meanwhile, Dexter's freaking out in the vault. There's a dead Batista lying on the ground and he's trapped and doesn't know how to get out. He covers Batista with a sheet that he found. I think it's one of the killers used it as like a noose. And then who shows up but Brian Moser? Finally. I'm so glad. I love it when all the ghosties show up. It's so fun. And now we just need Jennifer Carpenter to show up and then we'll be set. Yeah, he's kind of kicking him while he's down here. And he's like, see, brother, this is what happens when you care. Angel considered you his best friend for 20 years. And for another 10 years, he mourned your death only to find that you're a serial killer and you didn't care about him at all. And, you know, he spouts the normal stuff about like, hey, you're listening to your fake father when I'm your real brother. I offered you a life with someone who understands you. Dexter's like, you know what? I'm glad I killed you. It looks like he uses the New York Ripper's manhole cover remover to try and pry open the vault, which doesn't work, of course. But then later in the episode, you see that it's put back in the trophy case. So I don't know what's up with that. Continuity errors. Try throwing a chainsaw at it. That might work. Oh yeah, then Batista's phone rings and it's Smash Mouth. I wonder if that's if that's just his ringtone for everyone. I really hope that's just his ringtone for Quinn. Just Smash Mouth plays whatever Quinn calls him. Like, that's hilarious. Anyway, he lets it go to voicemail and then he uses Batista's face to unlock his phone so he can use it to call his son. One thing that's kind of interesting in this scene though, he listens to Quinn's voicemail and he says, hey, I'm worried about you. Come home, you know. Also, I really just called because your replacement is a dick and I don't like him. I wonder if that's set up for later, like if his replacement, if we're gonna see his replacement in some way, shape, or form. I don't know. Could be interesting. Maybe his replacement is the New York Ripper. Just kidding. The New York Ripper is kind of like the boogeyman. Everybody's, maybe it's this guy, you know. The fact that we don't know is killing us. Anyway, he gives Harrison a call, and Harrison is busy. Real busy. It says Batista on his phone, so he's not going to answer it. So he keeps calling, and eventually Gigi answers for him and says, hey, Harrison's, you know, occupado at the moment. Once she realizes it's Dexter, she puts Harrison on the phone. Dexter says, Harrison, I'm stuck in Prater's vault. He's gonna kill me. He already killed Batista. You gotta get me out of here. And Harrison's like, who is this? Anyway, he calls his buddy so that he can hook him up with the whole cater waiter gig, and that's his end to the law enforcement gala, which we kind of figured, you know, we figured it would happen that way. Then we cut back to Dexter, who literally just happens upon the files that Prater talked about in the last episode. The serial killer files are just there. They're actual files. I thought when he said files, they were like, I don't know, on the computer or something, encrypted maybe, but like, no, they're just in a filing cabinet. I mean, they're in a vault, but still. First one he grabs is Mia's. What's the next one? Keith something? Oh, right, Keith, right. Watch out for Keith. One of them was the Yonkers Slayer. Wonder who that is. And Morris Cooper is the guy that killed Prater's parents. If you Google Morris Cooper, it actually takes you to a therapist that him and Harrison went to in Dexter New Blood, who was also named Morris Cooper. So maybe the writers just ran out of names. Anyway, what he's doing is he's trying to find, I mean, I'm sure he's just interested in what's in all these serial killer files. I'm sure him being the Bay Harbor Butcher, but he's trying to find an 8-digit number, which is going to be the code to the vault. Oh, and then we find out that Charlie's last name is Brown. She's Charlie Brown. She still looks good in yellow. So, and Harry goes, no wonder she's so grumpy. It's funny. He finds out that, you know, Prater's got a whole file on Charlie, which I'm sure Charlie wouldn't like. Anyway, he sees the 8-digit number is the case file on Morris Cooper, so he assumes that that's got to be the vault code. Everyone's showing up at the gala. Pretty much all the law enforcement in New York is there. I don't know if that's true. There's a lot of precincts in New York, so I don't think all of them would be there, but I wonder what precincts, you know? Harrison's there being a waiter, and Wallace and her partner show up. Everybody seems to think that her partner is the New York Ripper, but I've never really believed that. Dexter's kind of instructing him on where to go. Harrison's not really too worried because he says that rich people do not notice the help. Prater gives a little speech. And he goes, yeah. And Harrison's trying to find the vault. He does eventually find the door. He tries to pick the lock, but Charlie hears it and opens the door and takes Harrison hostage. All right, Harrison gives his phone to Dexter, and Dexter tells Charlie that Prater has a whole file on her, which definitely upsets her because that's a huge invasion of privacy. Pretty much showing her that he owns her as well, just like he owns these serial killers. Some of the photos kind of implement her in Mia's suicide. Mia's murder, basically. So Dexter's threatening to send some of these photos to law enforcement because there's evidence in her file of all the stuff that she did for Prater, a lot of illegal stuff. Basically, Charlie agrees and then leaves. And she's like, I'm done working for Prater, which I'm glad. You know, I was kind of rooting for Charlie, and I'm kind of glad that she's not working for Prater anymore. So then Dexter tells Harrison the code, and that he opens the door, and they take a minute here. There's a whole like tension scene where it's like, oh, is it the right code? Is it not the right code? But whatever. The point is they open the vault, and Harrison's kind of amazed at the vault because it's his first time seeing it. And of course, Dexter grabs a bunch of the files so that he can keep them for later, right? He's got to hunt down these killers, which I'm like totally cool with because that sets up, you know, the next season. I'm really glad he took some of those files, but he couldn't carry all of them. It looks like he got either most of them or like half of them, but he left some of them on the floor. And he grabs his trophies, the Bay Harbor Butcher's trophies. But remember, those trophies aren't all of his. Those are only his trophies from the first 2 seasons, I believe. Anyway, so they escape, but then he realizes that his thumb, like his fake thumb from Red Schmidt, is missing. It's somewhere in the vault. So he lets Harrison go, and then he goes back in the vault to figure out where his thumbprint is. Charlie goes to Prater and officially quits. And then you see Harrison's trying to escape the gala, and he is spotted by Prater. Dexter keeps looking for the thumbprint, and he finds it on Batista. Prater tells one of his security guards to cut all the cameras, and he takes Harrison hostage and takes him all the way back to the vault. Then he calls Dexter and tells him to come up so that they can talk. When he gets there, Dexter says, "Let my son go and you'll never see me again." Prater says, "I've always admired people like you, but tonight I finally felt what it was like to be you, and it was amazing." And he's going to do it again by killing Harrison. And Dexter says, "You could do better. You could kill me, the Bay Harbor Butcher, and then you would be the ultimate killer of killers." But Prater says, "No, because in that scenario, I would have to let Harrison go, and I don't want any witnesses." And then this took me by surprise. Dexter looks at Harrison and says, "I'm sorry I couldn't protect you." And we get a little flashback from the last episode when he says, "If you stay the night, you'll need protection." Which we assume that he gives him some condoms because we never see it. And then there's like this awkward him taking it, but he actually did not give him condoms. He gave him M99. He stabs Prater with the tranquilizer. Prater fires at the ceiling and collapses. They're trying to figure out what to do, and Dexter gives Harrison his thumbprint. He goes, "How will you get out?" And he's like, "I'll get out through the fire escape." Dexter says, "Don't worry about me, bro. I'll figure it out." Prater then wakes up and he's strapped to the ice truck killer's table. Dexter plans to kill Prater at the same place he killed his brother. Prater, of course, tries to beg for his life, offering him money, offering his son a good college, pretty much being set for life. Dexter talks to Prater about his childhood and about how his father taught him the difference between right and wrong, and how the Morgans have a strong sense of justice. Being around him in Prater's club, he at first thought he was around like-minded people, but then remembered that all these other serial killers went after innocent people, so they're actually not like-minded. And Dexter says, "It's not just the justice, it's also the thrill of the kill. It's both." Dexter goes to cut him so he can take the trophy, but then he decides not to, and he tells him that usually when I take a trophy, it's to remember them. And he says, "I don't really want to remember you," which is interesting because I don't know if there's ever a time outside of an impulsive kill. I don't know if there's ever a time where he has someone on his table where he doesn't take a trophy. Correct me if I'm wrong. I know obviously he didn't with Hannah, but like he also let Hannah go and they fucked on the table, I think. But I'm trying to think of another time where he didn't take a trophy, and there's not many. There's definitely not many. He usually always takes a trophy. Unless it's an impulsive kill, or it was Hannah who he let go. And then he kills Prater, and that's the end of Prater. Part of me kind of wanted to see them team up, but I'm okay that they didn't. But while he's cleaning up the room, and while he does this thing where he chops the body up into 8 pieces, but before he does that, he cuts off Prater's thumb so that he can have access to all his stuff. Probably a good move. Oh, and he wipes down all his prints too, so that no one will find his prints anywhere. Meanwhile, the gala's going well, and Wallace is about to leave, but then she hears her jam and runs back in and dances with her partner. Can't blame her. Dexter packs up all the pieces of Prater in bags, and just before he leaves, he says a final goodbye to Batista. And right before he leaves, he punches in the wrong code using his knuckles, not his fingers, so that there's no print. And then the alarm blares, attracting everyone in the gala to the vault. Bunch of cops swarm in, and they see the vault with all of the serial killer paraphernalia, and they find Batista's body. And then Dexter steals Prater's yacht, and it's huge. It's cool because it's kind of reminiscent of the old show, where he would, after dismembering a body, he would go out to sea and dump it, and it would be this nice tranquil moment where he's at sea just with his boat. The post-nut clarity moment where he's just on the ocean chilling on his boat. But this time it's a giant yacht. And it makes me wonder, did he find the keys to that boat? Was his boat also used with a thumb pad? Do boats have thumb pads? I don't know. I'm not rich. He says, "Returning to the water is a kind of resurrection." It's a good line. God, look at how huge that thing is. What's it called? The getaway? The boat's called the getaway. That's funny. So obviously they don't find Prater in the vault, but they do find the gun, which has Prater's prints on it. And they also have those files that Dexter left on the floor. And one of them is the New York Ripper. His name is Don Frampt. And of course they see the New York Ripper's, manhole cover remover weapon. This was a little disappointing to me because I was kind of hoping for more of a reveal with the New York Ripper, but that's okay. Like, for all we know, maybe the New York Ripper saw this whole thing on TV about Prater and then dipped. Or that's not his real name, that's just one of his many aliases. My thing is, like, I hope the New York Ripper stuff isn't all wrapped up. I really feel like it's not wrapped up in this little scene. That would be extremely underwhelming. I think this is set up for later seasons. I hope. Charlie gets her mother out of the city and they go back to Amherst, and she buys back the house that she was raised in so that they can live there together, which is sweet. I like that Charlie gets away. Dexter has this nice little inner monologue about family and how it's nice to have people that he gets to lean on. And he says, with these people in my life, I can become more, I can be grounded. He says, I used to dream of being normal without the dark passenger. I like this scene because Dexter kind of okay with himself. He's settling into his own skin. He's being comfortable in his own skin, and he's accepting himself for who he is. And he's like, I'm not going to try being normal anymore. I'm just going to accept who I am, and I like this. This is kind of the whole purpose of Resurrection. It's him no longer denying who he is anymore. It's him accepting it. I like it. And then he looks at the camera and says, and how you want to see me, which is like pretty meta. He's actually looking at us, the viewers, and saying, like, you like who I am. You've always liked who I am from day one. You've accepted me warts and all. And now I can accept me. Now I'm not going to try and be something I'm not. And I like that. It's a nice little sweet ending. I like it. And it makes me excited for the next season. That's how it ends. What a season. Holy shit. I mean, wow. Just holy fuck, man. I can't think of a better sequel series than Dexter Resurrection. I really can't. Every episode was a banger. Every single one. I was never bored. Every episode was good. Pretty much every idea was good. Yeah, solid fucking season. They got, they got big shoes to fill next season now. One thing I didn't realize until recently is that Michael C. Hall is one of the executive producers of the show. And I'm like, oh, that's probably why it's so good. Because you're putting the main guy, in control of some of the decisions. I am really impressed by Dexter Resurrection. If they ended it here, it would be good, but like I don't want them to, because I want to know what happens next. I want to know what happens with Al, and I want to know what happens with the New York Ripper, And I'm so glad Charlie got away. I kind of wanted Charlie and Dexter to work together, but I'm dreaming, I like how they set up for future seasons. I saw that Dexter Original Sin got canceled. That's kind of a shame. Not that it was super necessary to begin with, but still. Now I gotta wait a whole year probably for next season. Definitely some weird stuff going on with Gigi. Still don't know what's up with that. Like the whole arm thing just seems really intentional. Don't know what's going on there. Definitely gonna bring back Al because Al was one of the files he had, so he's definitely gonna go check him out. And then some of those other Slayers like the Jaw Splitter and like the Midnight Mangler. And the Yonkers Slayer. That'll be interesting. We didn't really get much from the New York Ripper in this last episode, which is fine. I was just kind of hoping for some kind of big reveal, but that's okay. For those of you who saw the show Mindhunter, everything they did with BTK, I mean, eventually they didn't really do anything with BTK because David Fincher walked away from the show for now. If you remember, BTK was kind of like the boogeyman, of that show. And they just showed you glimpses here and there. It would be kind of cool if they did that again with the New York Ripper, where even in the next season, we get a little bit more, but we still never get a full reveal. That would be kind of interesting. They would just be kind of edging us with the New York Ripper, where he would just be like this boogeyman, or we would just get glimpses and little pieces of information, but like we don't quite get like a full picture or a full reveal of the New York Ripper yet, but we get little moments leading up to a confrontation, with him and Dexter or with him and Wallace. That would be kind of interesting. Or maybe Don Frampt is a woman, for all we know. My hope for that New York Ripper thing is that either he sees the whole Prater thing on the news and then dips, or that's one of his many aliases and the file actually leads nowhere. What a great season. And we saw Brian Moser. Isn't that crazy? Now all we need is Jennifer Carpenter to come back. Get Jennifer Carpenter back for season 2. That's what I'm saying. Do you guys think they're going to do the Trinity prequel? There's a rumor that they're going to do like a Trinity prequel and John Lithgow's going to be like the inner monologue. I'd watch it, but I don't know. I don't know how the viewership's going to go on that. Probably not going to happen. My guess would be that the Trinity thing won't happen, but we'll see. Maybe it will. If it does, I'll definitely watch it. It sucks when a show ends and then you're like, now I gotta wait. Let me know your guys' theories in the comments about season 2, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't, and I'll catch you guys next time.